Wherever you look, there is the face of God. You might be surprised to hear that that is from the Quran. There is a big, tough samurai who went to see a little monk. And he said, "Monk," in a voice that was very accustomed to instant obedience, "tell me about heaven and hell and teach me." The monk looked up at this mighty warrior and replied with utter disdain, "Teach you about heaven and hell? I couldn't teach you anything. You're dirty. You smell. Your blade is rusty. You're an utter disgrace to the samurai class. Get out of my sight. I can't stand you." Well, the samurai was furious. He shook. He got all red in the face and was speechless with rage. And he drew his sword and he raised it high over his head. And the monk said, "That is hell." The samurai was overwhelmed. He was amazed at the compassion and the surrender of this little man who had offered his life to give him the teaching and show him hell. He slowly put down his sword, filled with gratitude and suddenly peaceful. And the little monk said softly, "That is heaven." We make friends with conflict by changing how we see a situation and what we make it mean. The samurai was truly a very wise man because he caught in an instant what was happening and judged it differently. He immediately saw that what he thought was happening was not the case at all. He realized instantaneously what had happened right in front of his eyes. There are many definitions of conflict, and one of them is an interference in the pattern of energies. There was definitely an interference in the pattern of energies in our samurai's life when that happened. A huge interference that created him to become enraged. And whenever there is change, movement, resistance, pressure, or interaction, there is always a potential for conflict. Always. And when change or movement is resisted, shock waves are created. And when these shock waves collide, conflict results. We can actually watch it in our own lives when we become angry. We can actually see this happening within us. We can see it as it moves through our consciousness and as we begin to sort it out. And this is our opportunity to change. So today we are talking about the Tao of conflict. Tao, spelled T-A-O but pronounced D-O-W, can be roughly translated from Chinese as path or way. It is a path. It is a way of seeing the world. And in the Tao tradition, they see everything as in total harmony. It refers to a power or an energy that envelops and flows through all things. It flows through everything. And to the Taoist, nothing exists by itself. The Tao embodies the harmony of opposites. Now, we've seen opposites in our lives since we were born. The difference with the Tao is that they accept both. You know, we've kind of thrown out the one opposite we don't like and kept the opposite we like. But in the Tao, it is all accepted as a part of the whole, as a part of the whole. The Tao embodies the harmony of opposites, or those things that complement each other, maintaining quite simply and obviously that there can be no love without hate, no light without dark, no male without female. A Taoist then would be someone whose life is marked by a search for harmony and balance in all aspects of life. Those of us who are Libras in the room, and there are many of us, I noticed, are very, very, very aware of this balance that we're constantly trying to walk. Taoists follow a way of life that is based on rhythm and flux, on flowing with things, of watching interplay of opposites and complementariness. It is a path that we can all begin to embrace as we look at this thing called conflict. Being and doing are the primary poles of self. There's the being part of us, and there's the doing part of us. And at the center is harmony and balance. So we are constantly striving to be in the middle and to be able to see both, but to stay in harmony and balance. In spirit, we are all connected, and we learned earlier that nothing and no one is against us. How could there be? How could there be if we are all one? By staying in our center, even stressful situations can be handled and viewed calmly. And later on, I'm going to give you some steps on how we can deal with that in certain situations. Authenticity supports right action and ownership of our creative process. So we are always striving to be authentic, to be who we truly, truly are. And we've learned from the world to be many, many things in many, many different situations. But the main thing that we need to learn, and sometimes we miss this piece, is authenticity. Sometimes we miss the fact that being authentic is really the very, very best path we can take. It's described as reliable, trustworthy, real, genuine. So if we're being authentic and true to ourselves, we are real, we are genuine, we are trustworthy and reliable. And this means that we do what we say that we're going to do. And sometimes that's hard to carry out. We have very, very busy lives. Life gets faster every day. And sometimes we think we can do things that we can't because we simply don't have the time. So let us be careful of what we say we will do so that we stay authentic within ourselves, because our subconscious mind, even when we make a promise to ourselves, know whether or not we are being serious by whether we carry out what we say we're going to carry out. Authentic being leads to conscious doing. For an activity to be considered conscious, it has to be related to your spiritual purpose and living out of that intention. We see that not speaking up, not being real, not being true to our spiritual nature can cause conflict. It causes conflict within us, and it causes conflict without. Regret is often a symptom of not being authentic in a given situation or with an individual or in a relationship. Authenticity is a fundamental component of wholeness. You can't be whole unless you are authentic. And when we resist the movement of spirit, we create friction. heat and conflict, just like our samurai. You know, when we create that friction within ourselves, we become enraged, or at least we begin to struggle with the conditions that challenge or threaten us. And we invariably reinforce their presence in our life. What we resist persists. We've seen it happen over and over again. What we resist persists. Resistance, in electrical terminology, is the property of conductivity of an electrical conductor. According to Ohm's law of resistance, the amount of current flowing through an electrical conduit is inversely proportional to the amount of resistance in the wire. So if there's resistance in the wire, the electricity cannot get through to any great extent. In other words, when resistance is high, current is low. Conversely, when resistance approaches zero, current flow approaches infinity. Metaphysically, we can use this example in many ways. A belief in lack blocks the flow of abundance into our lives. We've seen that. A belief in ill health does the same thing. It blocks that flow of well-being in our lives. So we have to be careful what we say to ourselves and what we talk about to ourselves and to others. Be careful about what you're putting out there, because if it's something fairly negative, you're going to probably see that manifesting more and more in your life as a lack of what it is that you truly, truly want. Resistance narrows the path. And so let's make sure that we are not resistant and we allow life to flow through us. Outer resistance is about who we are not. Our unclarity, our misperception, our driven behavior, our ego or our pretense. Resistance only makes more concrete who you are not. Our samurai noticed that very quickly, and he changed it. He changed it immediately. He saw what was happening. Inner resistance keeps us from being present to life. It causes our energy field to contract. Have you noticed that happen in your life when you feel like there's somebody out there against you and you kind of like contract back? And you may kind of respond in kind with what you think is coming at you. And so you close down. And as we close down, we are closing down more than protecting ourselves from what we think is an attack. We are closing ourselves down from all of life. We move away instead of closer. Inner resistance separates us from our spiritual resources and intuition. When we are in a space like the samurai was in the beginning, there is only one thing to do, and that is to kill the messenger. But once we open up, there are many, many, many options of how we can approach our problem. It confuses the line between us and our experience. Inner resistance triggers the fight-flight response. It reads in the eye of the storm, the important point to see about resistance is that it arises from within. When it appears to be triggered by external conditions, resistance surfaces from within and keeps us from being present in the moment. This becomes a major factor in creating conflict because it works against our soul's intention. Our soul moves us toward the present moment so we can take authentic action. When we are driven to avoid a situation by resisting it, We fail to get the gift that the situation offers. And so conflict takes us to the edge of our resourcefulness. I really love that statement. Conflict takes us to the edge of our resourcefulness. It is an opportunity for us to see things in a different way. It is a great gift to us if only we see it. Just as the samurai saw that gift that the little monk gave him. When we can see it as a gift, it becomes a part of our growth, a part of our wholeness. So I came across this little blog by Sterling Newberry, and it was about customer service. But I think it's also applicable to what we're talking about this morning. It goes beyond that, I believe, to our interpersonal relationships as well. And this is a practical way to deal with conflict in our family, with our friends, in our business, wherever we may be, particularly if you're in customer service. And aren't we all in customer service in some way? I think we're all in customer service because those around us are our customers. So as we go through this, think of this not only as from a customer service point of view, like in a business, but from a personal point of view. When our customers, friends, or family think that we haven't delivered what they expected, it's important to manage our response for the best outcome. Sometimes we just want to strike out because we think we're being treated unfairly because we've done everything we could. And yet, the other person may not think that. And they may be coming to us, and they may get angry with us and with everything around them, maybe the larger organization. And when this happens, productivity goes down. Things really start to fall apart. And instead of thanking them for bringing it to our attention, we fall, we become defensive. We become defensive. With external customers, you may lose business or get negative advertising by word of mouth. And here's how you can prevent this from happening. When the complaint comes, resist the temptation to get defensive. That's not always easy, is it? Because we want to give our point of view. We want to say, wait a minute. Don't you remember the time I did this or the time I did that? Or, don't you remember that I did that? Don't you know that? And this is just absolutely the wrong place to go. It's a natural reaction, though, when someone is coming to you angry and frustrated. Instead, thank them for bringing it to your attention. Is that hard with our family? Oh, thank you for telling me I stepped all over your sentence, or whatever silly thing it might have been. Oh, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And restate their complaint to make sure you understand their point of view. This is really important because we often jump to conclusions and we think that we know someone else's point of view when we really don't know their point of view at all. And so what we need to do is to listen carefully and restate their complaint and ask them if that is what their meaning is. Because we sometimes take different meanings. And once they agree that we've got it, we can go on then to the next step. These are in steps. So step 2 is when to ask questions. Before, we don't ask questions. We just try to understand what they're saying. But now we're going to ask questions. When, where, what, and how did this problem arise? What was the sequence of events? What have they already tried in terms of solutions? And the more you know, the more satisfactory your response will be. But above all, don't assume you know what went wrong even if you've heard similar things many, many, many times before. No one likes to be treated like they're one of the anonymous crowd. Find out what's unique in your situation. Find out what really happened. Get all of the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Step 3. The next trap you can fall into is to immediately tell the customer, friend, or family member that what they have to do to resolve the problem. They don't want to hear that. They've already tried to resolve their problem. They're looking at you to resolve their problem. Do you want this person as a longtime friend or customer, or to stay in your life as a family member? Then take responsibility for your side of the issue first. Take responsibility. And at the very least, express regret that they've had a negative experience. You know, I've had this used on me when I've made phone calls. Maybe you have too. I have to say, it always makes me feel better. Even if it was insincere, it makes me feel better. We hope that when we say it, it is sincere. Does it appear that something about your business could be improved? Or about something else in your life? Would that tend to prevent the problem from reoccurring? And if it did, would you be willing to do it? Then say so. And this will tell the other person that you are serious about resolving the problem. Because you are serious. You want your life to be better. And it's going to be better if you can resolve this problem with this other person. And now you can talk to them about the steps that they can take to resolve the issue and could make in the future to prevent it from happening in the first place. And then we go to step 4. When it seems that you and the other person have agreed on a solution or a resolution, repeat it. Repeat it. Ask them if the two of you are in agreement. The assumption that you can lead, the assumption of that can lead to other frustration and misunderstandings down the road. So make sure you spell it out. You know, I'm going to do so-and-so, and you're going to do so-and-so by certain time, and are we in agreement with this? Yes or no. And then you negotiate. Step 5. Finally, thank your friend, your family member, or your customer for bringing up the problem. Here's where we come into this eye of the storm part. When we thank them for bringing it up, remember we said that these conflicts are a gift to us to learn. They are gifts to us to be able to move ourselves to center. And when you're going through these steps, do you notice how centered it feels? You really feel centered in this place because there's no emotion going on. You're not getting caught up in the storm that's going on around you. You're simply stepping into the center of your being. They have done us a favor in at least 3 ways. In at least 3 ways. They have helped us to stay in relationship, to really be able to know that they are valuable to us. They're probably going to think really good and say very positive things about you. This never hurts anybody. In fact, it helps us a lot. We want people saying positive things about us. And remember that they have given us an opportunity to improve ourselves, to be able to look at maybe a part of ourselves that we did not notice before, and to be able to bring it up and actually look at it, even though we don't want to. and really say, ah, yes, this is here. This is here. I need to look at this. I need to work on this. And so those are your 5 steps for remaining centered in the center of conflict. And now, if you will take out your bulletin, you will see 2 yellow slips of paper. And since I think we're all here and have been here before, you know that one of them, the long one, is the one that you're going to sign and pass to the center of the room. And we're going to affirm it together using our name in the blank. Together, I, Barbara, embrace change and conflict as my teachers. Yes. Sign your name, pass it to the center. The ushers will pick them up. The samurai was a very wise man. So was the monk. And they were both willing to do what it took in order to become a part of the center. A part of the center, to be able to see the storm all around them and not be caught up in it. And this is what is ours to do. It is what is ours to do, to come to a solution to everything that goes on in our life so that we become the I. We become the center. We take the Tao, the path, into the center of the storm. God bless you. And use these things. They really do work. I've used them myself. Surprise, surprise, they really do work. God bless you. Thank you.